Hello everyone, welcome to Geetham's Inside Prep series. I'm Surya Madnala, Senior Trainer for Quantitative Aptitude, Geetham Vizag. In this video, we will drive one number system which is considered to be one of the most elementary and fundamental concepts required to solve questions on aptitude. By the end of this video, we will be able to understand the classification of real numbers, divisibility rules, the concept of cyclicity, remainders, and conversion of decimal into fractions. Equally, we will be able to solve questions based on the given concept. So there is nothing much to illustrate on the classification of real numbers because we have already learned all this in our primary and secondary education. But yes, there is something really important to focus more on the even numbers and the odd numbers, which are again considered to be a part of integers. So even number is one of the classification of an integers. So when I say integers, it does not have any decimal value to it. So to be an even number first, it has to be an integer first. So what's the definition of an even number here? We have any number which is perfectly divisible by 2 is considered to be an even number. So when I'm saying perfectly divisible by 2, I mean to say that the remainder should leave 0 when divided by 2. We have got few examples of even numbers saying 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. All these are even numbers. Now, important note over here is 0 is considered to be an even number because it's an integer value, and again when divided by 2, it leaves 0 as remainder. So 0 is an even number. We have a classification even in the even numbers. So we have positive even numbers, negative even numbers. The numbers with the negative sign, the even numbers with the negative sign is negative even numbers. Provided to all this, we have few properties of the even numbers. In property of addition, when you add two even numbers, it always results into even numbers. When you subtract two even numbers, it always results to you an even number. When you multiply two even numbers, it always results to you an even number. Let's see about the odd. It's a little different from the even number. Any number which is not perfectly divisible by 2 is an odd number. Now, odd number is again a classification of an integer value. That does mean that before a number to be an odd number, it has to be an integer first. Now, how do you identify a number to be an odd number? So if it is not divisible by 2, then it is considered to be an odd number. I mean to say, when you divide any number with 2, it leaves remainder as 1. So the few examples like 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and so on are all considered to be an odd numbers. We have positive odd numbers, we have negative odd numbers. Equally, we also have a few properties on the odd numbers, saying property of addition, property of subtraction, and multiplication. Now, what does these properties? I've just focused a little more on this, saying a combination of odd and even together also. So when you add an odd number and even number, it also always results into odd number. Similarly, when you subtract odd with an even number, it always results into an odd number. And odd when multiplied to be an even number, it always results to be an even number. You may never know when these properties will be into use. And one more important thing over here is you don't need to really mug up all these properties. You can simply plug a few values into any variable and just check what results are, and you can go with the same property. Now, one more classification of an integer, that's prime number. Yeah, this is a type of an integer again. Now, a number which have exactly two factors or divisor is known as prime number. Listed below are all the prime numbers. Now you see prime numbers, I will just try to define you what an example. Let's see 2. What all factors we have for 2? We have 1 which divides 2 perfectly. We have 2 which is again a factor of 2. So I would say 1 is a factor of any natural number. 2 is also a factor of 2. So you can say a number itself is always a factor of the number. Okay, when I say 7, you have 1 and 7. A number itself is always a factor of a number. And 1, as usual, is a factor of every natural number. So if you have exactly 2 factors, then that number is said to be any prime number or a prime number. So is 4 a prime number? Let's see what all numbers divide 4. We have 1, 2, 4, which divides 4. So here we see 1, 2, 3 factors, but we are talking about exactly 2 factors. So 4 is not considered to be a prime number. There is one more important thing among the prime numbers called co-prime numbers. Now, two numbers which have the highest common factor as 1, then they are considered to be co-prime numbers. I would list an example here. Let's say 3 and 4. If I list out the factors for 3, I have 1 and 3. When I see 4, 1, 2, and 4. So we see here the only common factor as 1. The only common factor as 1. And the highest common factor has to be 1 only. So in this given case, 3 and 4 are said to be co-prime numbers or co-prime to each other. One more example, if I list 7 and 8. 7 has 1 and 7. 8 has 1, 2, 4, 8. And we again see the only common factor as 1. So 7 and 8 are also considered to be co-prime. If I take an example of 3 and 6, I see 1 and 3 and 6 as 1, 2, 3, and 6. Now the highest common factor which I see is 3. So hence, this cannot be a co-prime number. So 3 and 6 are not co-prime numbers. Now co-prime numbers, utilization of co-prime numbers will be seen in the divisibility rules. So it's important to know what. Now let us discuss few divisibility rules. I've displayed few divisibility rules on the screen for the numbers, say 2, 4, 8, 16, and so on. For an example here, if I place a number, how does this divisibility rules help us to check? So you see, I have written a number on the screen. Now see, if I ask you a question saying, is this number divisible by 2? Now, kindly cut the portion of a video before this slides pop in. Before I start explaining about the divisibility rules, I would just say you, divisibility rules always helps us to identify whether a specific number is divisible by that given number or not. Here you see, I have displayed the divisibility rules of few numbers. Let me explain the divisibility rules of these numbers with an example. So let me take a random number, say 4, 6, 5, 8, 9. So you see a 6-digit number saying 4,65,892. Okay. Now, if I question you whether this number is divisible by 2, you check with the last number. If this number is divisible by 2, the last number is divisible by 2, then the whole number is divisible by 2. When it comes to check with the divisibility rule of 4, if last two digits is divisible by 2, then the whole number is divisible by 2. Now let's see whether 92 is divisible by 4 or not. 4 2 is 8, and we have 12. 4 3 is 12. Yes, since it leaves remainder as 0, it is definitely divisible by 4. So the whole number is also divisible by 4. Now, if you want to check whether a number is divisible by 8, now there comes last 3 digit. Now, do remember there is a pattern going on in this. When we see about divisibility rule of 2, we check with the last digit. When we see about 4, we check with the last 2 digits. Now, this 2 is represented as 2 to the power of 1. 4 is represented as 2 square. When it comes to 8, we are checking the last 3 digits, so 2 cube. When it comes to 16, we will check the last 4 digits because it's represented to the power 4. So if at all I ask you the divisibility rule of 3064 or 32, you would easily say the last 5 digits should be divisible by 32, or last 6 digits should be divisible by 64. Then the whole number is divisible by 64. So this is how you need to identify. You can just help out yourself to identify whether a given number is divisible by any. Let's see the divisibility rules of few other numbers. So 3 and 9. So again, I take up a random number, 1, 5, 6, 8, 9, 4. So I've taken an even number. Now you would be thinking this, since it's an even number, so it will definitely not divisible by 3. No. There are few multiples of 3 which are even numbers, which is definitely divisible by 3. For example, 6, 12, 18, all these are even numbers. It is definitely divisible by 3. Okay. So if a number is an odd number, the multiple of that odd number should not only necessarily, it should be an odd number. Okay. It can be an even number as well. Now let's see with the divisibility rule of 3 and 9. So a number, if a number has to be divisible by 3, we will add all the digits. So we will take sum of all the digits in that given number. So when I say here 1 plus 5 plus 6 plus 8 plus 9 plus 4, the sum says 2, 6 and 6, 12, 8, 20, 29 and 4, 33. So this number, is this sum divisible by 3? Yes, it is divisible by 3 because 3 11s goes 33 and gives remainder as 0. Since this sum is divisible by 3, the whole number is divisible by 3. The same way it is for 9. Now, is 33, we have got the count of the sum of these digits. Is 33 divisible by 9? No. Since it is not divisible by 9, this number is not divisible by 9, but it is divisible by 3. Now, one identification over here, if a number is divisible by 3, does not mean that it is definitely divisible by 9. So this is one note to be identified. So we will see few other divisible. Now the divisibility rule of 5, 20, 25 are pretty easy to identify. It's very easy. You all see that multiples of 5 always ends with either 0 or 5. So if a number ends with 0 or 5, it is definitely divisible by 5. When it comes to 10, it has to always end with 0. When it comes to 25, if a number ends with 25 as its last two digits, or 00, or 50, or 75, then it is definitely divisible by 25. So when you list out the multiples of 25, you see the multiples as in this way: 25, 50, 75, 100, 125, 150. See, 175, 200. What you observe here is, so these are the 4 last two digits which you always see in the multiples of 25. And few other divisibility rules. Here comes the usage of co-prime numbers in the divisibility rules. Now you see the co-prime numbers helps us to identify a divisibility rule for a given number. If at all you want to check whether a number is divisible by 6 or not, see how does the co-prime number helps us to know the divisibility rule. Now you all are knowing this part that a co-prime numbers, two numbers are said to be co-primes if they have only common factor as 1. Now when you list a 6, the two factors which I see 2 and 3, and the product of 2, see no doubt we have 4 factors for 6. But if I take 2 and 3, two of these factors of the 6, when you multiply these two factors, it results into 6 again. Now these two factors, these two numbers are co-prime as well, because 2 and 3 has only common factor as 1. So if you want to check with the divisibility rule of 6, you always check that the number has to be divisible by both 2 as well as with 3. Same way, if you want to check with the divisibility rule of 12, we list out all the numbers, all the factors of 12. Or else you can straight away identify two numbers which are co-primes, and the product of those two numbers results you to the 12. So what I see is 4 and 3 being the co-prime numbers, and the product of these two numbers results into 12. The same way for 15, 3 and 5, both of them being a co-prime numbers, and the product of these results into 15. When it comes to 18, you see 2 and 9 to be co-prime numbers, and the product of these two results you to 18. Now when it comes to 18, you cannot say 3 and 6 to be co-prime, because you have already checked on these two numbers, they are not being co-prime. Though the product makes you to 18, and though these two numbers are the factors of 18, but still they are not co-primes. So we only need to check with the co-prime factors of those numbers. Equally, the product of those two co-prime numbers should be equal to that given number. So if at all I ask you the product of 11, 22, you would definitely say it's the number should be divisible by both 2 and 11, because 2 and 11 are the co-prime factors of 22. Now when I say 2 and 11, it has to be divisible by both 2 as well as by 11. So here we need to know the divisibility rule of 11 as well, which is again important one. You may see a question on divisibility of 11. Now when it comes to divisibility rule of 11, a number is divisible by 11 if sum of its odd places minus the sum of its even places, or else you can say the difference between the sum of the odd places and the sum of the even places. So I've given a number displayed over here. saying 502403. Let's see whether this number is divisible by 11 or not. Now, as per the definition stated here, as per the rule stated here, some of the odd places, the first place, the third place, and the fifth place. So 5 plus 2 plus 0. Subtracted with the sum of the even places. The second place, the fourth place, and the sixth place. So 0 plus 4 plus 3 should be either multiple of 11 or 0. So what is it? 7 minus 7 gives you 0. Yeah. So this is definitely divisible by 11. It should be either 0 or else a multiple of 11. One more example on the divisibility rule of 11. Let's suppose if we take a number, say 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is this number divisible by 11 or not? Let us see. Sum of the odd places, 4 plus 6 plus 8 gives you 18, minus sum of the even places, 12. This is 56. No, it's not 0. So if it's not 0, is it a multiple of 11? Neither it's a multiple of 11. So definitely this number is not divisible by 11. Let us add one more number to it, say 9. Now 4, 5 plus 7 plus 9, that again makes you how much? 7 plus 9 is 16 plus 5 is 21. Still, it's not a multiple of 11 because the difference gives you minus 3. It's okay to get a multiple of 11 into a negative terms as well. So there ends the divisibility rules. Let us discuss a question. I picked up a question from the inside examination, a mock examination. Okay. So the question states here, if 2, 3, A, 4, 5, B is a 6-digit number. So this number is a 6-digit number. So A is a single digit. This gives an information to us. B is again a single digit. One more information to us, which is perfectly divisible by 45. That means when the 6-digit number 2, 3, A, 4, 5, B, 1 divided by 45 leaves the remainder as 0. That's what they're trying to state. What is the maximum value of A plus B? So they're asking us to identify the max value of A plus B. Now, before we go further, first thing to know is when I divide this number with 45, is this number leaves you remainder as 0? How do you know this part? How do you know this part? So for that, we should know the divisibility rule of 45. So when we work on the divisibility rule of 45, we can work with the co-prime numbers. If you try identifying the co-prime numbers, the product of two co-prime numbers which leads you to 45, what I see is 5 and 9. 5 and 9, because 5 has 1 and 5. 9 has 1, 3 and 9. The only common factor to be 1. So yes, 5 and 9 are co-prime numbers. When I multiply these two, which results me to 45. So if we check with 5 and 9, then if they are divisible by both 5 and 9, then definitely the number is divisible by 5 and 9. So now our task lands up to making this number to be divisible by 5 as well as by 9. So the number is 2, 3, 8, 4, 5, B. So first we will identify to make this number divisible by 5. So if I want to make this number divisible by 5, I should place this value B to be 0 or 5. So that does mean that 2, 3, 8, 4, 5, 5. Now I take 5 here just because I'm working on the maximum value here. So B, I am just working on 5 first. Afterwards, I will work on the 0. If it does gives me the result less than 10, then only. Okay. So let's see. Now the number has changed to 2, 3, 8, 4, 5, 5. Now we will check with the divisibility rule of 9. This is step 1, which we have done. Now the step 2, we will check with the divisibility rule of 9. Divisibility rule of 9 says that sum of all the digits should be divisible by 9. The sum of all the digits of the number should be divisible by 9. So 2 plus 3 plus A plus 4 plus 5 plus 5. 10 and 4, 14 and 5, 19. So 19 plus 8 should be divisible by 9. So what is the number which you have, which you add to 19, which makes it divisible by 9? Now you can say, I can add -1 to it. But again, this is a 6-digit number. So you cannot include a negative number in the middle of the 6-digit number. So there's no possibility that it will be -1. So 19 plus something can make you divisible by 9. Now you may have 19 plus the next divisibility, immediate divisibility after 18. Immediate multiple after 18 is 27. 36 is the next multiple. So if you want to make it 27, you add 8 to this to make it divisible by 9. Or else you can say you can add 17 to this to make it divisible by 9. But again, we are only identifying a single digit number for A. So 70 is not possible, so we will work with 8. So you get value of A to be 8. I believe this is more easy for you to understand. So B is equals to 5, A is equals to 8. The maximum value of A plus B stands to be 8 plus 5, 13. You may question me, why didn't we work with 0? Because if we add 0 here, we are all working for maximum value. If we add 0 here, the max value of A can attend is probably the max value of A can attend is 9. So 0 plus 9 gives you a 9. But we have already got 13 as the result. So I don't need to work on 0 here. So a good question to ask. So you can just identify for other, I mean, you can just practice it by taking the number, changing this number, say 55 or maybe 15, anything like this. So the next thing to learn is the concept of cyclicity. It will be much easier to understand the concept by taking with the question itself. So I have displayed a question to you guys here saying that what is the units digit of 2 to the power 52? Now, do remember they're focusing on the units digit. So we are here to identify the last place of this expression 2 to the power 52. Now, if I start working on this question to solve, see, when I start working on listing out all the powers, all the results of powers of 2, say suppose 2 to the power of 1, say 2, 2 square gives me 4, 2 cube gives me 8, 2 to the power 4 say 16, 5 32, 6 is 64, and then we have 128, then we have 256, then we have 512, 1024, 2048. Though I don't need to list out all this, just for the explanation, I'm just trying to state you guys. Now, one important observation in the list of all the powers of 2 here is when we see on the units place of these powers, there is a smart observation which we see that 2486 keeps on repeating. So there is a formation of cycle of 4 elements. Formation of cycle of 4 elements saying 2486 keeps on repeating in any power of 2. Okay, in the powers of 2. So if I question you, what is the units digit of 2 to the power of 52? I am sure that the answer should be one among these 4 elements. Now, what should be the answer? That's the what point to understand here. Now, you see that the first power ends with 2, the second power ends with, the first power ends with 2, the second power ends with 4, the third power ends with 8, fourth power ends with 6. The fifth power ends with 2, sixth power ends with 4, seventh one ends with 8, eighth one ends with 6 again. 9, 10, 11th, and the 12th one ends with 6 again. Now, there's one more observation we see here. The 4th power, the 8th power, the 12th power, the 16th power, the 20th power, the multiples of 4th power will, the multiples of 4 will end with 6 only. Now, does the power is a multiple of 4? Is the power a multiple of 4? 2 to the power of 52. You'll check whether it is a multiple of 4 or not. 4 13s, 52. Yes, it's a multiple of 4. Or else you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. 4th power, 40 will end here, 44 will end here, 48 will end here, 52 will end here. So 2 to the power of 52 will end with 6. So remainders. Now, there is nothing much to explain in remainders because it's a pretty easy way to identify remainders. You have been doing it from your 4th grade or 5th grade, I guess. So let's see, how do you find your remainders? Okay, when if a question is like this saying 105, 1 divided by 25, the remainder is. So what you do is 105, you divide by 25, 25 fours are 100, is 100. So you get remainder as 5. This is your remaining part. Or else you can say 105 is written as 25 fours plus 5. So this portion is represented, this portion is known to be remainders. So any natural number or any number which is written in the form of A is equals to Bn plus R. Okay. So N being the quotient, and B being the divisor. Okay. So if at all I divide 93 by 7, again, see, 7, 1, 7, you have 23, 7, 7, 7, 3 is 21, and you have 2 as remainder. But what if I divide 7 with 93? What is a remainder here? Now people say they start working the quotient into the decimals. But when we are talking about remainder, we should never work with the decimals. So when they have asked you to divide 7 with 93, divide 7 with 93 only. And make sure that the quotient has to be an integral value. So you know that there is no value which is divisible, which is in the list of 93. Or no value like 7 which is in the list of 93, multiples of 93. So what you do is 7, 0, 93, 0, 0, and you get remainder as 7. One more example, like 5 divided by 6, the remainder is 5. So if at all the divisor is greater than the dividend, the remainder is the dividend itself only. Let's ask you questions from here. Now see, they're asking us to divide 23 plus 34 with 5, and the remainder will be. Now you don't need to add up all this and then give the remainder. Like if you add up this 23 plus 34, 50 and 57, it makes 57. When divided by 5, it gives the remainder as 2. Now the other way of doing the same thing is when you divide this 23 with 5, you get remainder as 3. When you divide 34 as 5 with 5, you get remainder as 4. Now 3 plus 4 is 7. Now divide 7 by 5, you get remainder as 2. So there is either ways to do it. Though the addition is easy job, so you might feel this as a more comfortable one. But when it goes to multiplication, so 23 into 34 and then dividing it with 5. Now it becomes a little tedious than the previous job because here you need to multiply and then divide it by 5. But either way can be more easy to identify the remainder. Now you divide 23 with 5, you get remainder as 3. You divide 34 with 5, you get remainder as 4. Since the operator used over here is multiplication, you multiply it, you get 12. When divided by 5, you get remainder as 2. So this is what the easier way to identify it. You can multiply this and again you start dividing it with 5, you will still get the remainder as 2. For an example, the other one, we see here 301 into 242. Oh, if you really multiply a 3-digit number into a 3-digit number into a 2-digit number, it gives you a big number. And then again dividing it with 3, then finding the remainder. It's quite a Herculean task. So the easiest way is you divide this 301 with 3, and the remainder gives you 1 here. 242 divided by 3 is 242 divided by 3. 3 80s are 240. You get remainder as 2. Now 35 divided by 3. 3 11s are 33, and then again remainder as 2. Since the operator used here is multiplication, so you multiply all this, you get 4. 4 then divided by 3, you get remainder as 1. So this is an easier job for us to find the remainders. When it comes to 11 factorial divided by 7, Now 11 factorial divided by 7. Now you list 11 factorial. When you write 11 factorial, you write it in this. And now you see 7 being one of the factor of the divisor. So definitely this number is divisible by 7. So it leaves you remainder 0, and multiplied with anything will always leave the remainder as 0. It's as simple as it is. Okay. Now, yeah, but when the question comes like this, 7 cube divided by 6, or probably 7 to the power of 30 divided by 6. If I change the question this way, let's see what happens. We will work with 7 cube, and then we will work with 7 to the power of 30 as well. So when they're asking us to divide 7 cube by 6, now I write it in this way. Now 7 divided by 6, it leaves remainder 1 here. 7 divided by 6, it gives remainder 1 here. 7 divided by 6, it gives remainder 1 into 1 into 1 gives you 1 again. 1 divided by 6, it gives you remainder as 1 again. I told you the divisor being greater than the dividend itself is the remainder. Now I change this number as 30. Now see, you know that. Oh, just a minute. I'll erase this part. The question is like this. 7 to the power of 30 by 6. Now, just for a while, when you divide the 7 by 6, you know that the remainder is 1. Now, 1 to the power of 30, it gives you 1, and 1 divided by 6, again, it leaves you remainder as 1. Isn't it as simple as it is? Rather multiplying all 37s and then dividing it by 6. So there, you can just work with any question you have and identify the answer. Now let's see how to convert the decimals into the fractions. So you will get a question like this straight away saying that a decimal which has to be converted into equivalent fraction. You won't get an easy decimal. It will be mostly used recurring decimal. The most, you majorly will find a question, the decimal to be the recurring one. If it is a non-recurring one, it's pretty easy because you can just simply divide it with the number of zeros. For an example, like if I say 0.28, convert this into a fraction, you will straight away divide this 28 with 100, and you find the equivalent fraction of it, saying 4 sevens and 425. But what if the question is like this, which is displayed on the screen, which is a recurring one, which never ends, So your question here is 0.2222, which never ends. So they're asking you to convert this into its equivalent fraction. Now, how do you convert a recurring decimal into equivalent fraction? Let us take this number to be x, 0.2222. So this is x. Now what you do is multiply this equation 1 with 10 on both the sides. Multiply 10 both the sides. So you get 10x equals to 2.2222. So on, because this is a recurring. And let us label it as second equation. Now subtract the first equation from the second equation. So we are subtracting this to, you get 9x, because 10x minus x gives you 9x. 2.2222 so on, subtracted by 0.22, you get finally 2. And if we try to find the value of x, it gives you 2 by 9. We initially took this value as x. Here we are getting x as 2 by 9. That does mean that this value can be represented as 0.2222 as well. So the equivalent fraction for 0.2222 is nothing but 2 by 9, as simple. So there comes the end. Thank you guys.